Hello, this is Iowa Aptera. I'm Bruce Nelson. I'm an Aptera brand ambassador, and today I'd like to talk with you about safety in the Aptera. Aptera was designed from the beginning to be a very safe vehicle. Even though it's in a legal class for motorcycles or autocycles in some states, which aren't subject to crash testing or the same safety regulations as cars, Aptera has still voluntarily incorporated many of these features in the Aptera. And I'll talk a little bit about how this developed. The computer design for testing safety in cars actually got started back in 1976 at Lawrence Livermore National Labs. They were doing some investigation on what the likely effects or predicting the effects of a low-level nuclear blast would be, and they developed something called finite element analysis. Basically what they did is they mapped the area that they wanted to study and calculated the forces at many points on the area of the map. And in the case of a nuclear blast, of course, this would be the force of the radiation and the winds that would be generated at each point to see if they could model what the effects would be. And then these predictions were tested in actual bomb blasts. It wasn't long before the automotive industry adapted the same techniques for CAD software. In the 1980s, I was a programmer, and I actually did some work with some of the very first CAD systems that were developed for physical object design, including automobiles. And I remember going to some of the places like Motorola and Intel, showing these early systems to engineers, and would soon have a crowd gathered around, because in a few minutes we could do what it would take them hours and hours of spreadsheet calculation to get the results, to calculate the forces that existed on each point of your grid. So with cars, they would do these simple maps of the structure, and then they would build the structure and do real-world crash tests. They would also use sensors to directly measure the forces at each point. And this data was fed back into further development. And today, the CAD software and the computers that are available to engineers to run are many hundreds of thousands of times faster than those early days were. And so in Aptera's case, they now have software where, along with the modeling that they're doing to actually design the shape, well, there's several things that they can model, and of course, because efficiency is one of the main goals, the airflow over the shape is one of the things that they measure. But they're also looking at structural deformation with forces on the body, including to failure, and in crash testing. So in actual design work, the present design of the Aptera vehicle has been crash tested virtually thousands of times already. And because the vehicle fits in a class that doesn't require physical crash testing, there's been some question about why they would do this. But safety has been one of the primary goals from the beginning, and Aptera has engaged a third party that does vehicle crash testing. And once they have their finished pre-production design ready to go and have built enough samples, those will be actually physically crash tested and the results compared with the predictions that they've already made. At that point, the ratings that they have established will also be published. Now, this is all being done on a volunteer basis. It's something that they don't have to do, but I think it's something that gives people who understand the process that the Aptera design is going through will give a lot of confidence. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the actual results are going to be and I expect that they're going to be really excellent. Probably surprise a lot of people. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you again soon.